Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a deep dive into a significant chapter in modern military history, the 2019 air skirmishes between India and Pakistan. This event brought two nuclear-armed neighbors to the brink, and understanding it requires looking at the complex history and the specific events that unfolded. So, let's break it down step by step. Our story begins on February 14, 2019. A tragic event occurred in the Pulwama district of Jammu and Kashmir, where a suicide bombing targeted a convoy of vehicles carrying Indian security personnel. The responsibility for this attack was claimed by a Pakistan-based militant group. This incident immediately escalated tensions, leading to strong reactions from the Indian government and public. The atmosphere was charged, and the world watched, concerned about what might happen next between these two historic rivals. In response, India decided on a military course of action. In the early hours of February 26th, the Indian Air Force, or IAF, launched airstrikes across the line of control, the de facto border in Kashmir. The stated target was a suspected militant training camp in a location known as Balakot, deep inside Pakistani territory. This was a significant move. For years, there had been an unspoken understanding to avoid deep cross-border strikes. This operation, codenamed Operation Bandar, marked a major departure from that precedent. India claimed the strikes were a non-military preemptive action, and that they had successfully hit their intended target, causing significant damage to the camp and neutralizing a large number of militants. However, the details of the operation's success became a point of contention. International journalists who later visited the site found craters and damaged trees, but reported seeing little evidence of the extensive damage to buildings or the high number of casualties described in initial reports. This discrepancy in narratives would become a central theme in the days that followed. Pakistan's response was swift. The day after the Balakot strikes, on February 27th, the Pakistan Air Force, or PAF, launched its own aerial operation, codenamed Operation Swift Retort. Their objective was to demonstrate Pakistan's capability and resolve to retaliate against any aggression. A formation of PF jets crossed the line of control into Indian-administered Kashmir, reportedly targeting non-military areas as a show of force, aiming to avoid escalation while still making a strong point. This is where things got really intense. The IAF scrambled its own jets to intercept the incoming Pakistani aircraft. What followed was a dogfight, a direct aerial engagement between the fighters of two national air forces, something that hadn't happened on this scale for decades. Both sides deployed sophisticated aircraft. The IAF flew its Mirage 2000s, Su-30 MKIs, and the venerable MiG-21 Bison. The PAF, on the other hand, was reported to have used its F-16s, JF-17 Thunders, and Mirage jets. During this intense aerial battle, at least one Indian aircraft, a MiG-21 Bison, was shot down. The pilot, Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, safely ejected but landed in Pakistani-administered territory, where he was taken into custody by the Pakistan Army. The downing of the MiG-21 was confirmed by both sides. However, the claims and counterclaims surrounding the dogfight became a focal point of the information war. India asserted that before his jet was hit, Wing Commander Abhinandan had successfully shot down a Pakistani F-16. As evidence, the IAF presented parts of an AMRAAM missile, which they stated could only be fired by the PAF's F-16 fleet. This claim was crucial for India, as it framed the loss of their own older MiG-21 as a tactical victory, having downed a much more advanced F-16. Pakistan, however, firmly denied this. They stated that no F-16s were lost in the engagement, and even initially claimed that F-16s were not used in the operation at all, a claim they later retracted. U.S. officials also reportedly conducted a count of Pakistan's F-16 fleet and found none missing, which further complicated the narrative. To this day, the question of whether an F-16 was actually downed remains one of the most debated aspects of the entire conflict, with both sides sticking to their versions of events. With an Indian pilot in Pakistani custody, the crisis reached its peak. The international community, including the United States, China, and Saudi Arabia, immediately stepped in, urging restraint and de-escalation. The prospect of a wider conflict between two nuclear powers was a terrifying one, and diplomatic channels worked overtime to defuse the situation. The pressure was immense. In a move that was widely seen as a significant gesture of de-escalation, Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan announced that Wing Commander Abhinandan would be released and returned to India as a peace gesture. On March 1, 2019, he was handed over to Indian authorities at the Wagah border crossing. His return was a moment of national celebration in India and a collective sigh of relief for the international community. It effectively pulled both nations back from the brink of a much larger conflict. So what are the key takeaways from this entire episode? First, it demonstrated a major shift in India's strategic policy, showing a new willingness to conduct deep conventional strikes inside Pakistan. Second, it highlighted the critical role of information and propaganda in modern warfare. Both sides heavily controlled the narrative, leading to conflicting reports that are still debated today. The fog of war was thick, amplified by social media and 24-hour news cycles. Third, the event showcased the capabilities of both air forces. While the engagement was brief, it was a real-world test of their aircraft, training, and command and control systems. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, it served as a stark reminder of how quickly tensions in the region can escalate, and the crucial role that diplomacy plays in preventing catastrophic outcomes. The 2019 air skirmishes were a short but incredibly dense and significant event that reshaped the strategic landscape of South Asia. The differing narratives persist, and both India and Pakistan declared victory. It's a complex event with no easy answers, but by breaking it down, we can better understand the pressures, decisions, and consequences that defined those few critical days. Thank you so much for joining me for this detailed breakdown. I hope you found it informative. If you did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into historical and current events. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.